I'm Steve Walker-Duncan, and I'm on a quest. As a professional chef for 25 years and an instructor at the Camosun College Culinary Arts program, I truly believe we have some of the best food in the world right here on the West Coast. Join me in discovering some of these culinary treasures. Back in 1862, Billy Barker discovered gold in the remote Caribou region of British Columbia. Almost overnight, a town grew up around his claim, Barkerville. Today, much of the town is still here. Over 100 heritage structures still stand on the spot where they were built. And thanks to the efforts of the provincial government and the Barkerville Heritage Trust, thousands of visitors come here each year to experience firsthand life in a gold rush town. This week, we're in historic Barkerville. We're in the mid-1800s. Thousands of immigrants from all over the world came here searching for gold. We're going to find out what they ate, how they lived, and how they survived in this isolated spot in the middle of nowhere. But I really don't think I'm dressed appropriately. We better go and see what we can do about that. I say, that's better. Let's go explore. At first, the town was populated almost entirely by miners who had to carry in everything they needed through the bush. But by the late 1860s, the Caribou Wagon Road was completed, bringing in a passenger stagecoach and civilization. The town is now so civilized that it's even suitable for ladies. I met Miss Bella on the coach. She's also hoping to make her fortune. Not in mining, though. I'm playing the part of a remittance man, a younger son sent out to the colonies from England by my wealthy family to seek my fortune. So the gold fields are an obvious place to start. The first thing I need is somewhere to stay. Many of the miners live in tents. I don't know if I fancy that option much. The hotel's too expensive. And anyways, it's full. So it'll have to be somewhere a little cheaper. Now I'm settled into the boarding house. It's time to actually learn how to get some gold out of these there hills. I'm here with Jonathan. He's going to give me a crash course in panning for gold.
All right, Steve. So, first thing you want to do, hang on to both sides of that pan. Nice firm grip right in the middle. Okay. Second thing you want to do, fill it with water just enough to cover all those rocks. Okay. We're going to boogie this on back and forth just like that. Yep. Washing off the big rocks, washing off the gravel, washing that gold right down to the bottom.
Because the gold's heavier, isn't it?
You betcha. Yeah. 7 to 10 times heavier than rock, 20 times heavier than water.
Before I can start looking for gold, I have to register a claim.
Bring the waves in 3 times. 1, 2, 3 times. 3 times only. Throw some more water. Boogie it on back and forth. Again. Yeah, you betcha. It's repeating that tedious process over and over again until you find enough gold. You bet.
Then I need to buy my equipment.
Okay, I've got everything I need for my gold mining. I've got my shovel and my pan and my bedroll and all my supplies. Here we go.
Spin it around, drop it and stop. There's that big rock there. I'm going to flick it, wash that off in the water, throw it out. Spin it around and drop it and stop. Aha. There's our gold right in there. You see that? 2, 3 pieces. That's all there is to it.
That's all there is?
That's all there is.
That's all I get?
You keep on going.
How much do I have to? How much gravel do I have to move to get that much gold?
Well, it depends on where you're searching, right?
This seems like an awful lot of hard work.
If you're bad at it, I guess.
There it is. My first gold panning experience. Success, but I still think it's an awful lot of hard work.
I'm taking part in the 1860s gold rush in Barkerville. Before setting out to the gold fields, I've arranged to visit Miss Wendell, who's going to give me some 1860s cooking tips.
Oh, good.
Miss Wendell.
Good morning, sir. It is such a pleasure to see you.
Very nice to meet you.
Yes, you too. I was in the middle of making a coconut bread. If you wish to take over, you're more than welcome.
I'd love to.
All right, very good. The first thing you need to do is punch out 2 of the holes.
Okay.
And drain out the water.
Okay.
This needs to be grated. And that is the recipe we're using.
Okay.
And I usually make half simply because it's such a large recipe.
So can the sugar go in the bowl?
The sugar can, and butter.
How much flour? Do we have to be very, very accurate? Does it
Oh,
matter if
never. Pinch of this and a pinch of that, so that's the best kind of recipes. If you have a recipe that's very, very accurate, then you also need a stove that is very, very accurate. On a good year, we will get 60 days without frost.
60 days
yes.
only without frost?
Yes. So basically we grow rhubarb, dandelion, mint, chives.
We're going to crack these directly into there?
Never, just in case there's some unmentionable something in there.
I think this one looks pretty good. So this is where we incorporate the egg. Now I'm afraid I'm not.
Oh, it doesn't have to be fancy, sir. It just has to be mixed.
Okay.
We'll put some leavening in the flour, sir. Okay. And because I am a modern woman, I have baking powder.
We have baking powder?
Yes, cook's friend it's called.
Okay. So is that about a teaspoon?
That is about. All right, so then all we need to do is put in about half the flour, then fluid.
A little fluid.
And then the rest of the flour and enough fluid so that it's the right consistency, and stir in the coconut.
Okay. So what kind of consistency are we looking for?
Cake-ish. I think you have a future, sir.
Do you think I've got a future? I've got a future as a cook.
Well,
that's good news, because
yes.
I'm not liking the sound of this mining very much. It sounds like an awful lot of hard work.
And you do realize that if you get onto some of the bigger claims, they're always looking for someone who can cook.
So we're ready to go in the oven?
You are, and of course, the kick. The foot pedal is right there, sir. Okay. So all you need to do is to kick.
Kick it?
Yes.
Oh, look at that.
Slide it in.
Okay, on the shelf here?
Yes, and then close it as quickly as possible.
Okay. I got to be able to keep all the heat in the oven.
Yes, exactly.
And
now
then,
how
long will this cook?
It will be about 40 minutes.
Just enough time to explore a bit more of the town. Barkerville during the gold rush was a thriving and successful town. And today you can still experience much of the bustle of everyday life over 100 years ago. You can eat at the Long Duck Tong Chinese restaurant. Around half the population was Chinese in the gold rush days. Or you can enjoy a theater performance in authentic style. Many of the stores are still open for business. And in the first one, I meet up with a friend from the Stagecoach.
I'm looking forward to that, and I'll prepare it.
Good day, sir.
Good day.
Miss Bella,
Stephen.
how are you doing? Lovely to meet you again.
Yes, lovely to see you
How
too.
are you settling in?
I'm settling in wonderfully. I've settled in at the St. George Hotel, and I'm exploring property because I do think I will settle here.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
And how about you?
Well, I've had a little bit of an epiphany myself. I met the wonderful Miss Wendell, and she's convinced me that mining probably isn't my thing. My hands are a little too soft and my back isn't quite strong enough, so I think I'm going to take up cooking. I seem to have a bit of a flair for it, so that's why I've come to see you, Mr. Goodson. You've been recommended. I'm going to open a little restaurant in town, I think.
Ah, well needed, well needed.
And it's not just the basics that are sold here. There are some real treats too.
We have lemon meringue and licorice and even drunken cherry.
Would you mind if I sampled a couple of?
Not at all.
Just a little taste? Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Oh, the brandy. Oh, the sugar. Oh, the butter.
Too much fudge and I'll end up here. Without pain, eh? Better try something a little healthier.
This here's 12-year-old blackberry vinegar. Well, it's balsamic vinegar, which is infused with blackberries. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. You're off on your journey of discovery.
I feel like I'm getting medicine.
Oh no. Well, medicine for anything that might ail you, but won't you love that, eh? Now, what do you think?
Oh.
No,
I think
know.
I've just died and gone to heaven.
Time to check on my cake. And it's worked.
Thank you so much for your instruction. I think thank you very much. I think my career may be set. I'm sold.
So, I gave up gold mining for cooking, and I feel I'm going to do quite well out of it. Let's jump forward in time, a little further to another era in Barkerville.
So here we are in the 1930s, and I'm going to have a traditional 1930s breakfast prepared by Ailida. Lita, so what's for breakfast this morning?
Well, this morning you're going to have a fruit medley with yogurt and granola that we make ourselves. You've got some apricot scones, which I've just taken out of the oven, and eggs and cheese, Kelly House style.
Now, these are traditional dishes that would have been served in the 1930s?
In Barkerville and Wells in the 1930s, at this time of the year, yes, there would have been fresh fruit. It was brought up from the Okanagan every year.
So what is it about Barkerville, Alita, that makes it special?
Well, Barkerville was never a ghost town. And probably by about 1870, Barkerville had like the highest fashions, latest stuff out of Paris, the best cognac. We had chefs from around the world, premier performances from traveling shows.
Really?
This place was pretty hot stuff.
So Alita, in your character, in your 1930s character, what would a normal sort of day compose of?
Oh my. First I would have to make certain that I had prepared the night before any batters, because all of my food prep would have to be ready for my guests. Yeah. And we have electricity, but I would be most likely cooking with a wood stove. Okay. So I would have had to have fired up my wood stove and gotten it to the right temperature well in advance of preparing food. So you can expect that 1930s kitchens in Barkerville would have been up and running 2 hours before breakfast.
Right.
Speaking of breakfast.
And here you go, Steve. Kelly House.
Oh.
Eggs and cheese.
This looks delicious.
Just move that right there like that.
Well, thank you so much. This is the perfect way to set up my 1930s day and a little more exploration of Barkerville. Well, wasn't that an adventure in Barkerville? Now, unfortunately, I didn't get the t-shirt, but what I did get was a very cool Barkerville exclusive hat. And I'm very happy to welcome into the studio today my favorite columnist, the funny, the humorous, sometimes irreverent, Jack Knox. Jack, welcome.
Happy to be here.
Glad you could come down.
Make me terrified. Bring it on.
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I'm very gentle. We've left all the knives out of the equation today,
okay.
So there's no danger of any digits being chopped off or anything. So what I thought today, we'll make a coconut cake with fudge pieces, and as a kick, we're going to put a little chili in.
Sounds delicious.
Okay.
Okay.
So what we need to do first is we're going to take all our dry ingredients. Okay. So what I'm going to get you to do, I've got 3 cups of flour there.
Right.
If you want to tip that into that bowl there.
I can do this.
In the meantime, I'm going to take, this is a can of coconut milk, or coconut cream actually, because you want the higher fat content. Okay?
Right.
So the difference between coconut milk, coconut cream is the amount of fat in there. Okay. So I've got some butter on the stove here, just melted, and I'm just going to put that in. I've turned it off, but I just want to warm the coconut because I don't want the butter to solidify again.
Right.
Okay. So into there, I've got a couple of tablespoons of baking powder. If you want to throw that in, that's the white dish there. That's already measured. That can go in, and then just a pinch of the chilies. Just a pinch.
Literally a pinch.
Literally a pinch. We don't want to make this too hot, but we do want to make. Oh, go on. Give it another pinch.
Well, that's 2 pinches.
1 big pinch, 2 little pinches.
Okay.
Your choice. Okay. So meanwhile, I'll take this out of the way. So Jack, how long have you been writing?
Well, as my editors say, I would say I've been typing for about 30 years, on and off.
Wow. And what's the most interesting thing you've ever covered in your career?
Oh, let's see. I've been to a gunfight. I interviewed a porn queen in the nude. Her, not me. That was pretty interesting.
So she was in the nude, not you.
That's right.
That seems a little unfair.
I got a phone call from Barack Obama 4 days before he was elected president.
Seriously?
I did.
What did he have to say?
He was talking about a guy from North Saanich who was one of his key aides.
Oh, okay.
And it was pretty cool.
Very cool. What I'm going to do, I'm going to get you just to stir those dry ingredients together. Oh, we also need a little pinch of salt.
Pinch of salt.
That's that one there, yes.
That's
sea
salt?
Yeah, so it's sea salt. It looks a little brown, but it's Vancouver Island sea salt. This is harvested from Cobble Hill.
How do you harvest sea salt?
Basically, you boil water. You boil salt water. And then what's left is salt. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just stir in the eggs with the coconut milk and the melted butter. Bring that all together. I'm just going to slide these forward. Each of us will get a pie plate. And this is where we get our hands dirty. I'm going to give you a piece of butter in there. Okay. A piece of butter in there. And you're just going to smear that all around. Make sure you get right into all the nooks and crannies.
Yeah, my mother used to get me to do this.
Nice and
apple pie. My mother made the best apple pie in the world.
So do you cook? Do you cook at home, Jack?
I cook mechanically like a German engineer. I follow the instructions to the T.
You're a recipe guy.
I am, because I have no confidence in my own ability to do anything other than follow a recipe.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. And if you've got good recipes, there's nothing wrong with that. And are you fairly successful?
Occasionally.
So there's our pan's buttered, and all our liquid ingredients here. So this is what we refer to as sort of a muffin type method, where you mix all your wet ingredients, you mix all your dry ingredients, and then you bring them together.
Okay.
As opposed to making kind of a cake where you cream the fat and the sugar and then add the eggs and the flour. This is a very simple premise.
I could pretend I knew that there was a difference between the two. But
well, that's right. That's right. Now you can tell people. And then you can stir everything in. So we've got a fair amount of fat in here. We've got about 80 grams of butter. We've got all that fat from the coconut. We've got the fat from the egg yolks as well. So it's going to be a fairly rich cake. Muffin method is very lightly mixed so that you don't develop gluten. You don't get those big holes that tunneling through the muffins. Whereas this, we're going to mix it quite well. So once the wet and the dry are sort of incorporated, just bring everything together and give it a couple of vigorous stirs to get a nice smooth mix.
See if I can't dump it on my shoes.
So, do you have a favorite, shall I say, target?
Any pomposity.
Yeah.
Pomposity is the funniest, that's the heart of satire,
yeah.
Is the gap between the way things are presented and the way they really are. That's why politicians and the way they present themselves are actually such
that
great
holier than thou kind of attitude.
That's right. Yeah. And Alberta, because it's there.
Awesome. Where does that come from?
Alberta's like the big brother who does everything right. Like Alberta works hard. Alberta's got a job. Alberta gets up in the morning and goes to work and succeeds. And we're like the guy who's still living in mom's basement when he's 42 years old, you know? So it's a little bit of envy. I hate to say it, but.
Awesome. So that looks fabulous. So it's a nice smooth sort of mix. We're just going to give that a couple more stirs. So it's a fairly wet mix. Okay. Now, that's our fudge, all cut up already. If you would just like to basically dump that in, but just sort of separate it with your fingers because it's kind of sticky.
I can't do a one for the recipe, one for Jack.
Well, sure, you can do one for the recipe, one for that. It's quality control.
Right, but just start chucking this in?
Just start chucking them in a piece, one at a time, just so they break. They don't stick.
They don't gloop. So,
okay. So one for the mix, one for Jack.
One for Jack. Big one for Jack. little one for the mix.
Little one for the mix. I see this mix is going to be a bit shy.
Little one for the mix. I like this.
Okay, so we're going to rename this just coconut cake.
Right.
Perfect. So as you see, I'm just sort of stirring those through, just so that they get uniformly distributed through there, and then we can.
That is creamy fudge.
Okay, so I'm going to switch over to a spatula here, just to make getting this out of the pan that much easier. How much we got left? We almost all in there?
Yeah,
perfect.
Pretty much.
Couple more. One for Jack.
Yeah. Oh man, I let a good one go there. I think I'll lick the bowl.
You can have the bowl. Okay. Yeah. So what we're going to do with this is we're just going to split this into our two pie plates. And basically just take your spatula, cut it in half, and pour half in one. You can do the other. And I'll get the other spatula here, and our spreader, and just sort of even those out. That should work. There we go.
Right.
And you want to just have a look. Make sure your fudge is kind of evenly distributed.
Well, you do kind of have to smooch it around, don't you?
Yeah, you see how they do stick together a little bit, so you do have to kind of manipulate them just to get them spread out. Now, these are fairly small, so they're not going to take too long to cook. They'll probably take about 20-25 minutes to cook. We've got our ovens preheated to 350 degrees.
Okay, this is a problem where I do guy math when cooking, where it says, if it says cook for half an hour at 350 degrees, I'll go cook it at 700 for 15 minutes. It's simple math. But.
Sometimes that will work. Many times it doesn't, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last thing we have is to put our gold on here.
Okay.
If you want to pass the golden sugar.
Right.
We've got no sugar in the mix here, so we want to be fairly generous with our sugar. Okay, so give the top of that a fairly good shake. Perfect. Done. Okay, and then follow me. We're going to go over to the oven. Slip those guys right in there, top shelf. And as I say, about 20 minutes is all that'll take.
All right.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Fudgy, sugary goodness.
Oh yeah.
So we've got everything lifted up. It's risen, about doubled in size. The sugar's all crispy on the top. We've got a little skewer here. Wooden skewer, metal skewer, doesn't matter. All we want to do is check that the the bannock is done. So you just stick that in, and when it comes out, it should be clean. If it's still doughy and spongy, then it'll be doughy and spongy on the end of the skewer.
Okay, so and then you throw her back in the oven if it's like that?
If it's like that, you just put it back in the oven for a couple of minutes. So if you want to just check yours, make sure it's...
Look at that.
Look at that, clean as a whistle. Awesome. So I'm just going to give this a little bit of cream down one side. There we go, Jack. I'll let you put as much as you want on there.
I'll try that. Wow.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Delicious, delicious. Jack, thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
Always a pleasure. And keep up the good work and keep us smiling.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. One of the biggest concerns about food safety in the kitchen is temperature control. Some of the temperatures that are very, very important, your fridge and your freezer temperatures. Your fridge should be below 4 degrees centigrade, and your freezer should be below -18. If you're cooking ground meat or poultry, your food needs to come up to an internal temperature of 74 degrees centigrade or 165 Fahrenheit. If you're cooling food down, you need to get it down to below 4 degrees C in less than 6 hours. Well, here we are again, Mr. Rod Phillips of Liquor Plus, wine connoisseur extraordinaire.
Thank you.
I think this is a little bit of a challenge.
This is a throwdown. You just threw this down and threw me a challenge.
All right, so what are you going to do with it?
Well, yeah, I mean, the big challenge is you got bannock, you've got coconut, you got fudge, and you got a little bit of spiciness in there. So I've got 3 items here that sort of span the range of the flavors that are going to bring this out. The first one actually goes with your hangman hat. It's called the Apothic Red.
The Apothic Red. I love the name.
Yeah,
the name's fabulous.
Great? Now, this is out of California. And when you put your nose in there, do you get a little bit of that dried coconut on the nose?
Absolutely.
Yeah, big, rich
little
berry.
Tropical.
Absolutely. This has got dark coffee on the finish and a little bit of vanilla and toffee and all that kind of thing. And I thought this would go really, really well with the bannock.
That's a nice wine.
Isn't that rich and generous?
Rich. Again, it's almost a dessert wine, isn't it?
It has that ability. Yeah. It has that ability. I've had this with chocolate many times. It's a beautiful wine with that. Sticking with the panhandling theme, I thought I'd go with something out of Rocky Creek, the blackberry wine.
Oh, okay.
Which Rocky Creek is one of the best producers of blackberry here on the island. Right. They no longer call it blackberry port because the guys at the EU got all upset. But this is a fortified blackberry wine. And you can get the rich nose out of there.
But it doesn't smell too sweet.
No, it's not. This is dried off.
Wow, is that good?
You got the nice little crisp finish, which is going to bring out the fudge
which
a
is
little
very
bit more.
unusual for blackberry, for fruit wines, isn't it? It's
absolutely. It's tough to do because you can really go crazy with the alcohol.
Delicious, absolutely delicious.
Now this is a lambic. This is a beer out of Belgium that is spontaneously fermented, and it's crake, and it's cherry is what crake is.
Okay.
And I thought this would really go well with the fudge.
Beautiful colors, beautiful color.
And just put your nose in it. Does that not scream for some rich bannock?
Absolutely.
It just says bannock.
But it's got that bubble to it.
It does.
You can see it's got the
bubbles.
It's
going to dance on the palate.
You can feel it.
Yep.
That's good. That's fantastic.
Is that good?
What a nice selection, Rod. I mean, all very different, but they're all going to go really well with our bannock.
Yeah.
As always, fabulous job.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.